Hi guys, how's it going? Today's video is going to deal with, and unfortunately I may add, really unfortunately, with yet another scandal of Tory cronyism, which will make the Patterson affair look like amateur hour. You see, this particular episode of cronyism really is quite startling, to be honest, because it again takes UK voters to be complete and utter idiots. That the UK voters have no recourse back to normal politics, to trusting politics. So let's go.
Good Lord, didn't anybody here subscribe?
So, guys, as you're probably aware, and if not, let me be the one to give you the heads up, that it has emerged that Baroness Mone had been the source of referral between the government and PPE Medpro, a company that was awarded 203 million quid's worth of contracts to supply PPE to the NHS via that government's high priority lane, the VIP lane as it became known. Now, you may remember that name from last year when it was reported by The Guardian that two of the company's three directors in Medpro, namely Anthony Page and Ware Cool, were also directors of another company called Knox House Trust out of the Isle of Man, which is the tax advisory and wealth management firm owned by Baroness Bone's husband, Douglas Barrowman, multi-billionaire. Okay? The National Audit Office found in 2020 that companies processed through the high priority lane were 10 times more successful in securing contracts, which lead to questions about whether A, some firms profited from political connections, B, if regular suppliers to the NHS had been passed over, 3, whether the taxpayers had received value for money, and finally 4, did the goods supplied match the technical and logistical specifications required by the NHS? But in a remarkable statement last year by Lord Bethell, who was at the time the Department for Health and Social Care's minister, okay, he said of the government, his statement, the government did not even plan to disclose which companies were given high priority because, you ready for this? There may be associated commercial implications. Now, there may be associated commercial implications. What in the hell that actually means is beyond me. But much like everything else, stuff and statements issued by charlatans, his claim is basically this: the public didn't need to know what their money was being spent on. So, if that's not treating people like fools, I don't know what is. So no surprise there from this Lord, and yet another Lord, okay? Now, what you need to know here is this is the same Lord Bethell who had to resign his position after it transpired that following a note, an official note to him, saying that the ONS will need to see his phone and subsequent personal emails, he went on to losing his phone and deleting those emails, okay? Not only that, but the Good Law Project had found and said that Bethell's tenure as health minister had been mired in controversy, which we discovered and discussed with Matt Hancock's dealings over in the north of Ireland, of which he wasn't even the minister, okay? But there was another cozy deal done. And like he's been mired from failing to declare meetings with firms that won huge contracts, to using his personal emails to conduct business, to using WhatsApp messages. It all, you know, it was just so much of it. It also added that he had overseen awards of billions of pounds of public contracts. Information revealing how these contracts came to be awarded may now be lost. This is last year, or even destroyed, which is exactly what happened. So really no wonder that he didn't want to release any information, which brings us back to Baroness Mone. Now, some of you may not know who she is, but I guarantee you every Scot in the UK and abroad knows who she is. With a net worth in 2019 of between 20 and 30 million, depending on who you talk to, she is the last that sold her underwear and garment business, which she had built up from scratch, from the ground up, to become one of the darlings of Scottish entrepreneurs. And in my honest opinion, at the time, deservedly so. Deservedly so. However, this former model and mother of four, who just a few years ago married Douglas Barrowman, has some real explaining to do on this PPE contract, and so maybe does her husband. And I do mean some real explaining, because the two contracts awarded to Medpro were larger than the entire sales of her lingerie business from the day she started it to the day she sold it. But that in itself, though remarkable, could be regarded as just being kind of lucky, if you know what I mean. But what happened to Medpro wasn't lucky. This was far beyond the luck you'd need to win the national lottery. Well, at least that is what we are expected to believe. It was luck. Now, the official line from Westminster at the time went like this. In her denial, Baroness Mone is neither an investor, neither a director or a shareholder in any way associated with PPE Medpro. She has never had any role or function in PPE Medpro. Good one. Nor in the process by which contracts were awarded to PPE Medpro. So I think you'll agree that this is a very strong denial, and at the time would leave no one in doubt as to her stance on the matter. But just when you think the dust had settled on that statement, it continued with one extra line that is going to come back and bite her. And it read like this. Baroness Mone had no knowledge of any high priority lane and did not play any part or have any knowledge of Medpro being placed in such a lane. Now, when I read that, I said to myself, hold on here for a minute. Hold on. Are we expected to believe that a woman with a very strong, successful, proven track record in one of the most cutthroat businesses in the rag trade didn't know about the need to get PPE to the frontline staff ASAP and didn't have any knowledge whatever of the VIP lane? Nah, sorry, I simply cannot accept that. For such a thing to happen, she would have had to have a complete personality change along with probably a brain transplant. There is no way that could happen to this lassie. She's too smart. But then we learned that Medpro CEO Anthony Page, who we're going to learn about later, remember Medpro CEO Anthony Page told The Guardian in 2020 via his lawyer, that he was unaware that there was any high priority lane. He said that the UK government came to them, requested assistance from the group behind Medpro, who had prior experience in the industry, and that the contracts were awarded to Medpro because the firm could deliver the PPE reliably and at competitive prices. All sounds good. The contract had been under discussion for a considerable time. Now remember this, the contract had been under discussion for a considerable time before Medpro was even incorporated. So the contract was under discussion for a considerable amount of time before the company was formed. But when asked how the government even knew the group behind PPE Medpro and how the request for assistance was made, Page, via his lawyer, declined to explain. Which, by the way, could be fine, except that at the time, the UK government only had 3 suppliers on that fast-track VIP system, and his was one of them. Let's remember that. If his firm had experience in the industry, he would know exactly how tenders were carried out. And he didn't see anything different on the fast track, didn't ask any questions. So Medpro had come through the same VIP channel that Mone claimed she didn't know about. And that Page guy, who was the former secretary of Bone's own private company, resigned his position on exactly the same day as he took up a position in the new company that won that massive contract. Now, we're supposed to believe that was a coincidence. I think you would agree that's just too hard to believe. That's too hard to believe. Being the head honcho of MGM Media, that was the company that was handling Baroness Mone, he would have needed to have a lot of contact with such a high-profile client, and especially as that client is commercially switched on, until, however, he quit that particular role on the same day. Now, from the day Medpro was set up to the day Medpro received that massive order from Westminster was, drumroll, 6 weeks. 6 weeks from the day it was set up. Now, is that either the luckiest day one could ever wish for in a business, or is there a smell all over that could match that of the smell of the largest pile of human excrement left floating in a river of raw sewage? But as we've often said, the truth will win out in the end. The question remains, however, what will happen to this Baroness Mone after she denied any knowledge of this, and then it transpires yesterday that she was the one who made the introduction? Thanks for watching. See you on the flip side. Take care.